What's up, everybody? It's Emilio with Let's Roll Characters, and this is day 15. We are halfway there with the 31 Days of Character Creation Challenge. Today I've had, I was watching the Star Wars movies earlier today with my son, and I've just had space on my mind. So today I'm going to actually switch things up, and I'm going to roll a character from the Dark Matter setting by Mage Hand Press. It's a cool setting that we rolled a character for on an episode of Let's Roll Characters a few months back, and I got to also stream a campaign in the Dark Matter setting with the folks over at Encounter Roleplay. So I just thought, it'd be nice to switch things up. I've got the tables from our episode to use, so we're going to just do a space character today. So first up today is a D8 for Ancestry, and the Ancestries are a little different. The Dark Matter setting has its own kind of set of ancestries and cultures and classes and things like that. So for our Ancestry, we have a 2, and that is an Avia Ra. The Avia Ra are a sort of like a bird-like humanoid species that I think is known for sort of being very proud of their heritage and culture. They've kind of carved out a section of the verse that's their own. But let's see if this Avia Ra ancestry is living in an Avia Ra culture. So next up, D8 for culture is a 7. That is Wrothian culture. Wow. Okay, I don't know a ton about Wrothians. Wrothians are sort of the a little bit like mysterious and scary alien creature. So this could be interesting. I mean, I'm not super familiar, so I guess I'll just kind of make some stuff up. Let's find out what their class is. So for class, I'm just going to use the D&D 5e classes. There are some additional classes that Hit Point Press has, but I'm just not familiar with them enough to roll those. So we're going to do just our usual D12 for class. That's not a D12. That's a D12. 6 for class is a monk. A space monk. Excellent. That should be fun. Okay, space monk it is. Okay, next up is a D20 for... I'm sorry, not a D20. A D6 for background, because there are 5 new backgrounds in the Dark Matter source material. So D6 for background. A 2 is an exile. Okay, so we've got an Avia Ra ancestry, Wrothian culture, monk, exile. And now, last but not least, we're going to roll a D4 for gender. And that is a 3, so non-binary. Okay, Avia Ra ancestry, Wrothian culture, a monk, exile, and non-binary. Okay, so... Well, I mean, exile kind of gives you a lot of the direction that you need for something like this. I think that... Yeah, I mean, they would have been... It probably makes sense that they would have been exiled from Avia Ra culture for some sort of wrongdoing or crime, and the only place where they could find refuge might have been in a Wrothian society, where maybe they could kind of disappear. Maybe there's more of a darker or criminal element where they could get lost. And they're a monk, so they've sort of dedicated their life to kind of study and practice, and I guess I'm wondering how that can all work together. This is a tricky one, but I think that okay. So let's say that they were practicing monk in their Avia Ra. As a result. No. Let's switch this up. I got it. Okay. Just because they are of Avia Ra ancestry doesn't mean that they ever lived in an Avia Ra culture. So let's just say that they are a monk practicing Avia Ra traditions in a Wrothian culture. And there's a small enclave of Avia Ra who have created a settlement in this Wrothian city, and who are maybe like evangelists almost, missionaries trying to spread the faith of the Avia Ra, the practices of the Avia Ra into Wrothian society, but they're just meeting all sorts of roadblocks. And our character is the one of the, let's say there are 3 leaders of this Avia Ra order of monks. Each of them has a specific task, specific role within their community. There's one who's in charge of sort of day-to-day life. There's one who's in charge of kind of spiritual well-being. And then the third character, ours, is in charge of like community relations and doing outreach and things like that. And so as a result, they've been trying to embed themselves in this community, and it's not going well. The Wrothians are not accepting them. And eventually, the temple where they live, let's keep it spacey. It's actually a spaceship, and they are forced to flee this Wrothian city, basically at the at the edge of a pitchfork, trying to get away from these Wrothians who are sick of them kind of preaching their Avi-Ra ways in their society. Okay, a couple things. So first, I did mention our prompt. Our prompt for today is 0. And the second thing is we got to roll some ability scores. So let's do that first. We'll roll ability scores. Keep 0 in mind. We're rolling 4d6, dropping the lowest. Strength is up first. Strength is a 7. Dexterity, come on, Dexy Monk. Oh, much better. Yeah, that's a 14 Dex. They can definitely do their Avi-Ra Kung Fu or whatever the martial arts that they would practice is. Constitution, a 15. Oh, wow. Yeah, they're tough. Intelligence is a 16. Wisdom tends to be a good monk stat, but, it might not be the wisest. But if they're doing the community outreach, it would make sense. And yeah, it does make sense because that is another 14. And charisma. Well, you can see why maybe their outreach efforts didn't go that well, because that is an 11 charisma. Okay, well, pretty good stats. 7 strength, 14 dex, 15 con, 16 intelligence, 14 wisdom, and 11 charisma. So they're pretty solid. They other than the strength stat, they're able to do a lot. Let's say that the fact that they're highly intelligent actually worked against them in this case. They, instead of relying on sort of their natural charisma and their instincts, as they were doing the outreach to the Wrothians, they were really trying to think their way through it and analyze and strategize and figure out what would really reach these Wrothians. But because of that, they came off very unnatural and just as if they were really trying to sell or pitch something instead of just being themselves and talking about why they cared about this this religion. Where does our prompt 0 come into all of this? So I like the idea of the 3 heads of the order. Okay, all right. So let's say that the reason that these monks had to flee was that they ran afoul of the Wrothian 0. And the Wrothian 0, making this up, is the head of a syndicate. And unlike the Avi-Ra, who have these groups of 3 monks, the 0 is the most important, is the center of sort of whatever this group of Wrothians is. And if you run afoul of the 0, things are not going to go well for you. Okay, so that is our character. Their name is it's okay. Let's make it part of the third. So they're the third of 3. So they're Canelo of 3. Canelo of 3. Day 15. Thanks, everybody.